Hi there, this is Dazzlerian. I'm back with part 3 of my walkthrough of Crown of the Sunken King. Today we're going to be starting at the Hidden Sanctum Chamber bonfire and ending at the Lair of the Imperfect. So first thing to do as you wake up at the bonfire is to head out to the little ledge and grab the Sanctum crossbow. While you're here, take the opportunity to snipe the Sanctum priestess there. If you're having trouble dodging the dark balls she throws, you can step behind that wall to the right and just pop out when you're ready to fire. The Sanctum priestesses have a rare drop that's a really cool looking headpiece. It looks sort of like a butterfly almost, much darker though. So head along the walkway towards where the priestess was. We're going to get the miracle denial. Now I have to apologize for the video quality. It's just so dark, I had to turn up the brightness and that kind of screwed things up. So look at the wheel door and you'll see if you look through the large circle, you can just hit the edge of a switch with your bow. So hit that switch. It'll take a little trial and error because the hitbox for the wheel door is of course not perfect. And I'm sure we've all had lots of arrows stick into walls even though we fire them 1.5 feet away from the wall. So you're going to have to fight the two phantoms you fought getting to the Hidden Sanctum Chamber bonfire. Don't do what I did and trigger them both. Climb down the ladder you had to climb up to get to the bonfire, because then you'll just trigger the one closest to you, and once you kill him, you can go take out the other one. And, you know, pretty normal strategies for trying to take these guys out. Roll towards them and diagonally, always keep a little bit of your stamina. I just skipped ahead because it was really tedious. It took a long time to get those two. Don't trigger both at once. So once you've got them, head to the wheel door. The small wheel should be at the bottom. This is much easier. Look straight through and shoot the switch. Now you need to climb back up to the walkway. And I'm going to have to turn up the brightness again here for just a second. Now take a look through the large hole again, and you'll see the opposite corner of the switch that you can shoot. Don't get too close to that doorway because there's a Sanctum Priestess in there and a Phantom Sanctum Knight. So don't trigger those guys just yet. Once you get the big circle on the bottom, you can step through and grab Denial the Miracle. This is a miracle that, when cast, prevents you from being killed by a killing blow. Instead, you're left with about 15 or so hit points. So it basically gives you one last chance. The duration is 3 to 4 minutes, depending on what wiki you read. You need 24 faith before you can start casting it. Head back to that door I just told you to avoid. Try to stick close to the right wall and snipe the Sanctum Priestess on your left. If you stay far enough back in the doorway and close enough to the right wall, you'll be able to kill her without triggering the Phantom Sanctum Knight, which I was not able to do here. So, you know, same old deal. One thing you should always do is use the environment in your favor and use the enemy's difficulties getting around the environment to your favor. Like, step around a corner because it's going to take them a little bit longer to round that corner than it would just to run straight at you. Fall off a walkway onto the floor below if you think it's not going to hurt your health too badly, because they're going to stand there for a minute before they decide to fall through themselves. So now we can go back and take out the Sanctum Priestess. One thing to be careful of with the Priestess is, if you're going to kill them with melee attacks, is that sometimes as they die, their body releases a cloud of poison that poisons you very, very quickly. It doesn't always happen, but if you're going to kill them with melee, roll away the second you deliver that final blow. That's about as much time as you have. You see, I get poisoned because I was just standing there like a doofus. This is the secret door that opens onto one of the short hallways in that intersection, in the hallway that leads to the puzzling stone sword and the hole you fall down and everything like that. So if you go up those stairs, if you look to your right, there's the hole that we jumped. If you go up those stairs, you see the sand pit where you fought the first Sanctum Priestess and another poison Sanctum Soldier. This trap is, this chest has a dart trap in it, so be careful, roll away diagonally. Now turn to your right and cross the wider walkway. You'll end up in a room that has 2 long rectangular holes with walkways on the 2 sides of the room and down the middle, and it has 3 Phantom Sanctum Knights in it. This is also the room that has the bodies, the corpses of every Phantom Sanctum Knight. So when you're in here and you smash the bodies, you'll turn every Phantom into a corporeal knight, which means that magic affects them a lot more and physical attacks have a normal effect instead of 0 effect. You only want to trigger 1 at once. The way to do that is to edge your way down the stairs until the first one sees you, and then back up so he follows you while his buddies go away. An excellent strategy here for those of you who are having trouble is to use his aggro range against him. You can see at a certain point he won't come any farther unless you're actively attacking him. He'll start backing up. And this is true of almost all enemies in this game. If you back far enough up, they'll turn around and walk back if you're far enough away from them. So that's a good way to avoid getting hit by Falchions over and over again. If you snipe one of the corpses on the back wall, as you can see, you'll turn one of the 2 knights left corporeal again. And I'm just going to run around here smashing as many corpses as I can in the hope that I turn the other guy corporeal too. The dark you see is it seems to be an attack from their crossbow. It seems like they can fire some sort of dark bolt. An excellent time to backstab them is as you approach quickly, they'll spend a second or 2 putting the crossbows away and getting the Falchions out, which is more than enough time for you to go behind them and start your backstab motion. See here, we do the same thing. The Sanctum Knight armor provides very good physical defense. You'll get the Eternal Sanctum key in this room, and that's important because it opens up the door we passed at the very beginning of the Dragon's Sanctum, that first locked door on the left. It leads up to the Priestess's Chamber bonfire, which leads to an optional boss fight with 3 NPCs. Once you've killed the knights, go around at your leisure to make sure you've smashed every corpse. As soon as you emerge from the stairwell, when you're on that wider walkway, look to your right. There's a bit of rubble you can drop down to, and it leads to an iron chest that has the Bloodbite ring +1. So now we're pretty much done with this area for a little while. It's time to go in the other direction you could go when you first fell down the hole from that hallway. What you're going to run into is a swarm of these pustule bugs. Also, a fair amount of the stationary plant pustules. So if any of your weapons are in poor repair, make sure to use repair powder or the repair spell, because these things can corrode your weapons really, really fast. In general, the strategy I would suggest here is, take 1 or 2 out immediately if you can, and then run to a corner until far enough away from them that they have to take a bit of a walk to get to you. And once most of them are close to you, roll the other way and run to the opposite corner. So they'll, it'll take them a little time to get up to speed to get back to you, and that gives you a little grace period. The best advice of all, though, is to run up the stairs, because they don't have any ranged attacks. So you can pick them off one by one as they walk up the stairs, since they have to walk in single file. And you have a nice long way to retreat. And just like I was talking about with the Phantom Sanctum Knights earlier, you can use this sort of environmental strategy to your benefit. If they get too high up the stairs, just go further up the stairs around the corner, because they'll have a bit of a hard time navigating that corner. Or drop down to the floor, and then they'll all have to turn around and troop back down the stairs, which will give you plenty of time. So, as long as you keep your head, this fight shouldn't be too hard. Up this ladder, you'll find an iron chest with Flynn's ring in it. Flynn's ring is interesting because it boosts your physical attack more the lower your carry weight is. So if you tend to travel really light, Flynn's ring would definitely be an option for you because it'll boost your attack rating a lot. Drop down. This is the other end of that hallway where you just came out of the spike floor room. If you head up here, you'll see that sandpit with the Sanctum Priestess and the Poison Sanctum Soldier. We've already taken care of that. So the only way left to go is back into the spiky floor room, the one we just left. Take a right at the intersection and you can go through that secret door you opened. And head down the stairs that you saw briefly as you were shooting the switch to open the Hidden Sanctum Chamber bonfire. When you take this right, there'll be another Sanctum Knight waiting to whack you with his crossbow. However, you can rejoice because he is now solid and very vulnerable to attacks that previously only hurt him a little tiny bit. And you can use all your physical damage weapons now, which is pretty cool. This is a pretty crazy panorama. It looks like a lot of places to go, and you go to every single one in the course of this downloadable content. So in true Dark Souls fashion, I tried around every corner that I'm unfamiliar with my shield up. And here, unfortunately, we're going to run into a bit of a sad occurrence, because we're going to get invaded by Jester Thomas, the man who single-handedly helped a lot of us take care of Mytha. Now, if you remember from the Mythophyte, Jester Thomas has all sorts of crazy powerful pyromancy spells. The thing to do with him, as with any caster, is to get in close and disrupt his casting. You can also try to use a long-range weapon like the Avalon, for example, as soon as you see him start to cast. One of the drawbacks of pyromancy is that it has a fairly slow cast time. If you see him lifting up his right hand with a big fireball in it, get ready to dodge, because he's either going to be throwing Chaos Fireball or Chaos Storm. If there's Chaos Storm, you want to roll away, obviously, and so it's probably best to roll away regardless. That's what it would look like. That's the hand movement. This should be pretty much habit by now, second nature, if you will. But make sure you always save enough stamina to roll at least once. Never fully deplete your stamina bar, because there are several pyromancy spells that are fairly easy to dodge but do a whole lot of damage if you don't dodge them. Lingering Flame is one of the best examples, where a little ball of fire comes towards you and then it explodes hugely and does a whole bunch of damage. But as long as you roll to dodge it, you don't take any damage at all. So this next part is going to take a bit of explaining. There are 6 incredibly strong enemies in here. I don't know their official name. I just think of them as the dinosaurs. And there's a bonfire on the far side of this area. So what I'm going to do is sprint to the bonfire and light it, just so you know where the bonfire is. And at that point, I'll have a section of the video where I show you different strategies on how to take down the dinosaurs and the locations of all the different shinies that you can get in this area, because there's a lot of pretty cool loot to pick up. However, if you're not interested in that, if you just want to, sprint through, light the bonfire, suicide, and then warp back to this bonfire, I totally understand. I don't like fighting these guys either. So if that's the case, as soon as I light the bonfire, I'll put up an annotation on my video that has a link to the point where I continue on with the things you have to do to finish this part of the area. My how to fight the dinos bit runs for about 9 minutes, so, no hard feelings if you feel like skipping it. There are a few more things that you need to do after you light this bonfire, so make sure to watch at least the end of the video that I link to. So here we go. The link is in the upper right-hand corner. My preferred strategy for the dinos, as you would probably expect, is a ranged attack. When you're shooting ranged at them, they'll most likely start by shooting dark balls at you that have sort of like dark lightning going on, which are fairly easy to dodge, but they do a lot of damage if they hit you. Up close, the dinos fight sort of like a combination between the guardian dragons and the rat authorities. Well, the rat authority, there's only one of them. You can see as he's whacking his head around a similarity to the way the rat authority would charge you and then put his head down on one side and sweep it around to the other side, which was always the move that killed me. So the way to do that is to, unfortunately, just time the roll so you're in a frame where you don't take damage as his head is passing over you. The best way to do it is to roll towards him and diagonally. So you'll go behind him and to the left, or behind him and to the right. If you're behind him, the most common thing he'll do is stamp his feet, just like the guardian dragons would, and you want to evade it in the same way. There's that ball of dark and lightning. And of course, it goes without saying, but try really hard not to trigger more than one of these guys. I think on top of the Guardian Dragons and the Rat Authority, you can definitely see that he has some primordial serpent in his ancestry, because those teeth are just ridiculous. They make me think of Frant every time I look at him. If you notice there, I just kept rolling to the right, but also trying to get behind him, not straight sideways. And that was how I evaded his head whip attack. There's the third, so we'll just get his attention. They also occasionally have a long-distance jump, where instead of shooting the dark balls, they'll jump and fly through the air and land right on you, or try to land right on you. Like that. They have a fairly long recovery time after they land, so it's an excellent chance to get in a few hits, either with magic of some sort, or with your melee weapon. See, this guy was the easiest of all to take out, because once you dodge his attack, you get several free shots on him. So, while I think ranged attacks are by far the best strategy, I also want to give some examples about how to attack from close up. So I'm going to use the Falchion for this one. Because you've brought your bow along, you can always shoot them once to get their attention, rather than just charging up to them with your melee weapon. It doesn't matter how much damage you do. What matters is making sure that only one of them approaches you, because if you're standing too close to two, they're both going to attack you at the same time, and that's just going to be wretched. So the best way to start off is to target one of his legs. It's interesting, this seems to be the case in both Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, that enemies have the hardest time figuring out what to do with you when you're standing either right between their legs or a little behind their legs. If you're standing back about level with his legs, that head whip attack is not going to hit you. When you see him stomping, obviously try to roll away in whatever direction you can. He'll do the jump up and down move more often when you're close, and it's harder to evade. So really, this battle is a lot more about patience and dodging than the ranged battle is. But on the plus side, you're able to confuse them a lot more, which gives you some opportunity to heal or get in another free hit or two. Forward and to the left. And he didn't touch me. Just like the Guardian Dragons, sometimes they stomp once and sometimes they stomp more than once. So never see one stomp and think, okay, I'm in the clear now, let's go back and hack. It looks like if you have a long weapon or a weapon with a vertical swing, you could probably stand right under him between his legs and hit his underbelly with the vertical swing. So now we're going to look for the shinies to pick up the loot. And just to orient you, I'm starting from the door that we came in initially, the door that we went through after the Jester Thomas fight. So if you run around the outside wall to the left, you'll come in and find the first shiny, Petrified Dragon Bone. Oh, the dino critters also drop Petrified Dragon Bones rarely. So, you know, put on some rings and farm them if you want. If you head all the way back to the wall with the door you came out on, you'll find in this bunch of stalagmites 2 shinies. And then if you turn around again, you see that little outcrop has 1 waiting for you. And now we're on our way to do important, necessary, game-advancing things. So that was the bonfire we were looking at. Keep the wall on your right, basically. Head as far as you can go in this direction. The stalagmite wall will give out after a little while, and you'll see a little beach to walk up on. Be careful not to walk too much farther in the water because the shelf drops off and it's an insta-kill. So hop up onto this platform. You'll use the dragon stone to trigger this particular switch. And if you look right above her head, in a second, you'll see that the switch causes some bridge segments to rise and complete the bridge, which will take you into that building on the left, the last building in the area, and the home of the 2 final bosses. In this little room, make sure to whack the switch. All it does is activate the elevator. This is an elevator that will eventually take you back up to, well, it'll take you up to the bridge you just created, and from there's another elevator that will take you up to Sanctum Walk Bonfire, the very beginning of the level. Before you hop on the elevator, though, walk out the other side of that little building, all the way down the sand path to find the Drakeblood Greatsword, which is a pretty nifty greatsword. It's one of the better looking greatswords, too. So hop on the elevator. You'll arrive here at the middle room. Walk out the door, and there's the bridge you just created. But before we go in there, we may as well sleep at the Sanctum Walk Bonfire, because there aren't any enemies we're going to respawn between there and here. Here we are back at the top. You can enter the last area now, cross that bridge, but now that you have the Eternal Sanctum key, you can also go take care of an optional area and an optional boss fight. So that's what we're going to do in the next part. We're going to warp from here to the Tower of Prayer, and from there use the Eternal Sanctum key to get to the Priestess's Chamber. Thanks for watching. Take care.